Hi, this video is going to illustrate the distinction between a change in supply and a change in quantity supplied. We're going to consider the steak market to illustrate this example. So once again, the quantity supplied, what is that? It's the amount that a firm is willing to sell at various prices. In this case, steak, holding every other factor constant. A supply curve will show you the quantity supplied at every possible steak price. Again, holding every other factor constant. So how do we show a change in the quantity supplied of steak? Well, you can show this graphically simply by changing the price of steak. This will change the quantity supplied of steak. So on a graph, you have an existing supply curve, which is a positive slope, and you have, in this case, increased the price of steak. That will cause suppliers to increase their quantity supplied. So we will move along an existing supply curve. An increase in price increases our quantity supplied, so now we were at 220 and now we're at 300 units due to this $2 price increase. This illustrates an increase in quantity supplied due to the steak price change. Now, how do we show a change in the supply of steak? Well, recall that here are three determinants of the supply for steak: the price of steak, the cost of raising cattle, and government rules and regulations. If you change any of these supply determinants other than steak prices, you'll get a change in the supply of steak. So let's consider the scenario of a price of raising cattle has increased. In this case, we will have an existing supply curve, S1, let's call it, and at that given price, 220 units are supplied. If the cost of raising cattle increases, we'll need to draw a new supply curve. Now, the most difficult concept for students to grasp when drawing these new supply curves is how to draw the new one. If it's a factor that has raised the cost of producing the item, this will cause our supply curve to move left or up. And why is that? Well, if you increase the cost of producing the item, if that price were to stay the same, you don't want to supply as much as you did before. So at the original $330 price, you don't want to supply $220 anymore because the cost of raising cattle has increased. You want to supply less. That's why the supply curve moves left or up. So in this example, S2 reflects the new supply curve due to the increased price of raising cattle. So to summarize, a change in supply curve shifts your supply curve. A change in quantity supplied moves along an existing supply curve. One thing changes your quantity supplied. That's changed the price of the item. Any other change other than the price of the item will cause us to shift our supply curve.